When the world turns its back on you, when you're staring down a path that feels uncertain, dark, or even impossible, there is one truth that remains, one anchor in the chaos that never moves. My Lord is with me. And once that sinks deep into your heart, into the very marrow of your bones, everything starts to shift. Because knowing that your Creator, the one who fashioned you from nothing, is present with you, not far, not distant, but with you, transforms your entire reality. It's not a theory. It's not a slogan to repeat like a mantra. It's a lived truth. And when that truth becomes your lens, your entire world changes. You stop depending on people who are unreliable. You stop panicking when others withdraw their support. You stop begging for validation from a world that doesn't even know what it stands for. Because when the most powerful, the most aware, and the most loving is already standing beside you, what can harm you? Who can define your worth? What loss can break you? That's where real strength is born, not from applause, not from success, but from that inner stillness that says, even if the whole world leaves me, I am never truly alone. The great ones in history knew this. Look at Moses, peace be upon him, standing at the edge of the Red Sea, with Pharaoh's army behind him, and no way forward. The people panicked. They shouted, "We're done, we're going to be destroyed." But what did he say? With unshakable calm, with no plan in sight, he said, "Indeed my Lord is with me. He will guide me." That is power. Not because he had a sword, not because he had an army, but because he had certainty. That certainty didn't come from wishful thinking. It came from knowing who his Lord is, from years of building that connection, trusting it, leaning on it when things didn't make sense. And that's exactly what many people miss today. We rely so much on visibility. If we can't see a way out, we assume there isn't one. If people don't see our value, we start doubting ourselves. But faith, true faith, is walking straight into the storm, knowing you are not alone, knowing your Creator sees you, knows you, and is orchestrating something far beyond your current understanding. Let's bring this closer to your life. Maybe you're facing rejection. Maybe people are gossiping behind your back, tearing down your reputation. Or maybe they just disappeared when you needed them most. The temptation is to spiral, to believe the lie that you're not worthy, not enough, forgotten. But that's where your soul has a choice. Crumble under the weight of what people say, or rise with the weight of what you know to be true. My Lord is with me. Once that statement becomes your foundation, your mindset starts to elevate. You stop being reactive. You stop chasing people. You stop justifying your worth to those who are too broken to see it. You operate from a higher frequency, one that doesn't scream or beg, one that radiates unshakable calm. Because when you know that the all-knowing is managing your affairs, you start to live with dignity, not desperation. This isn't about ignoring your struggles. Life is hard. People will disappoint you. You'll get hurt. But knowing that your Lord is with you doesn't remove the hardship. It makes you unbreakable through it. It gives you the inner capacity to withstand betrayal, failure, delay, and even heartbreak. Because you're not placing your hope in what is fleeting. You're grounded in what is eternal. You'll start to notice how differently you walk through the world. You won't need to respond to every insult. You won't feel the urge to defend yourself against every accusation. Why? Because you know who's already defending you. You don't need to scream, "I'm right," when the all-just knows the truth. You don't need to seek revenge, when the one who sees all will take care of it in his time. And when things don't go your way, when that job doesn't come through, when that relationship ends, when the path suddenly gets blurry, your first reaction won't be to panic. It will be to pause, to remember, to whisper quietly, "My Lord is with me." And in that space, clarity will come. Because when your heart is calm, the voice of truth becomes louder than the noise of fear. Let me tell you something powerful. Miracles don't happen from certainty in outcomes. Miracles happen from certainty in God. You may not know how or when your breakthrough will come. You may not even know what step to take next. But if you know with conviction that the one guiding your steps has infinite wisdom and mercy, then you can take the step anyway. This mindset doesn't just change your relationship with difficulty, it changes your relationship with success too. You stop seeing your achievements as proof of your value, and instead as blessings you were entrusted with. You become humble, you give credit where it's due, and when life tests you again, you don't fall apart, because your self-worth was never tied to results. It was always tied to the one who never leaves you. So next time you feel abandoned, next time your heart aches with disappointment, pause, breathe, and say it like you mean it. My Lord is with me, not because it sounds nice, not because it's a hopeful quote, but because it's the deepest truth of all. And if you let it, that truth will carry you through the darkest valleys, the hardest losses, and the most painful seasons, not just surviving, but growing, rising, becoming. Because once you know He's with you, you stop fearing who's against you. In a world that constantly equates silence with weakness and noise with power, it's revolutionary to choose stillness, especially when life turns against you. There is a profound, almost sacred strength in being silent when the storm is loud. Not silent because you don't have anything to say, not silent because you're passive, but silent because you are anchored, because your heart is speaking to one greater than the world, and you're not seeking approval from those who can't even understand your journey. When you are certain, truly certain, that your Lord is with you, silence is not emptiness, it's full of trust, full of clarity, full of the knowledge that you are held and watched over by the one who sees what nobody else does. You see, the world reacts, it shouts, it posts, it claps back, but the soul that is firm in its connection to the divine doesn't need that kind of noise. It rests in silence, and from that stillness, it draws unshakable peace. Think about this. When people misunderstand you, when they misjudge your actions or question your motives, what's the instinct? The desire to explain, to defend, to make sure they see the truth. But here's the reality. You can pour your soul into trying to prove yourself and still, they won't get it. Why? Because their perception is filtered through their own wounds, fears, and egos. So instead you stay quiet, not because you've given up, but because you've risen above the need for their validation. This kind of silence isn't apathy, it's wisdom, and it's rare. It's the silence that says, I've said what I needed to say to the one who holds all truth. Now I can rest. When you practice this kind of silence, you're making a statement that you believe in something bigger than public opinion, stronger than the crowd's approval. You're saying, I am not driven by fear, I am led by faith. The Prophet Musa, peace be upon him, again offers a perfect example. Standing between Pharaoh's army and the Red Sea, the people screamed in panic, chaos filled the air, and the instinct would have been to respond, to echo that fear. But Musa remained calm. He didn't scream, he didn't panic, he simply said, My Lord is with me. That was his stillness, and it was that stillness that preceded the miracle. Now think about your own life. Maybe you're dealing with betrayal. Maybe your name is being dragged through conversations you weren't invited into. Maybe someone you loved walked away, and you're left with questions and silence. And maybe that silence feels unbearable. But what if instead of fighting it you leaned into it? What if you made peace with the quiet, and began speaking to the one who never misunderstands you? There's power in that moment, when you stop trying to make others understand, and start embracing the deeper understanding of yourself. It's when you say, I don't need to be loud to be strong. I don't need to react to prove my worth. I will stay silent, and let my Lord speak for me. And He will in His time, and in ways you never imagined. Sometimes people around you expect a reaction. They provoke. They hope you'll lose your calm, just so they can point and say, see, I was right. But when you stay composed, when you pause, reflect, and choose silence, your response becomes more powerful than any outburst ever could be. Because silence backed by faith is not passivity, it's strategy, it's trust, it's strength. And that silence, when used intentionally, is magnetic. It draws the right people toward you, the people who are attracted not to your noise, but to your presence, not to your chaos, but to your calm, the ones who see the dignity in your restraint, who respect the quiet confidence you carry. That's the kind of presence that transforms rooms without needing to raise a voice. But here's the challenge. Silence is hard when your ego is loud. When your heart hasn't yet learned to trust, you will fight for attention, for justice, for revenge. You'll need to be seen, heard, recognized. But when your heart is full of the certainty that your Lord sees you, that He knows the truth of your intentions and the depth of your wounds, then you don't need that noise. You'll protect your peace like it's sacred, because it is. Let's not forget, every major transformation begins in silence. The seed grows underground. The moon moves tides without a sound. And some of the most powerful prayers are whispered in secret. That's the beauty of silence. It's not the absence of activity. It's the birthplace of power. When you remain silent, you begin to hear what actually matters. Your soul speaks, your Lord responds, and clarity comes, not from the chaos outside, but from the tranquility within. That kind of clarity will guide your next steps better than any shouting match ever could. You'll learn to walk away from battles that don't deserve your energy. You'll learn to speak only when your words are heavier than your silence. You'll recognize that sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. And maybe, just maybe, your silence will speak louder than your words ever could. It will say, I trust the process. I believe in justice. I choose my peace. I know I'm not alone. So when the world turns against you, when everything in you wants to shout, to scream, to set the record straight, pause, breathe, close your eyes, and let your silence become your strength. Let it be a declaration that you're not reacting to the noise of the world. You're listening to the whisper of your Lord. Because when you're certain He's with you, silence is no longer empty, it's power. When the world turns against you, one of the most critical things you can do is anchor yourself to a purpose higher than yourself. It might sound simple, maybe even a bit abstract, but in reality, it's the difference between crumbling under pressure and rising stronger than ever. Because when you're not living for something greater, every insult feels personal, every failure feels final, and every rejection feels like a judgment on your worth. But when your heart is rooted in a purpose that transcends approval, applause, and outcomes, you develop a resilience that nothing can shake. We were never created to simply chase comfort or applause. That was never the design. Our souls crave something more, something eternal, something that gives meaning to every hardship we endure. Without that, life becomes a cycle of reaction and disappointment. But with it, every pain becomes purposeful, every delay becomes a lesson, and every heartbreak becomes a redirection. When your eyes are on a higher goal, pleasing your Lord, living with integrity, walking in truth, then what people say or do no longer has the final say in your story. You begin to operate from a different frequency, one where faith leads and fear fades. You stop measuring your value by the metrics of this world, likes, followers, praise, and instead, you live to please the one who created you with a purpose before you were even born. This kind of perspective doesn't mean life gets easier. In fact, the moment you align yourself with a divine purpose, expect resistance. You'll face critics, doubters, betrayals, and moments where you wonder if it's all worth it. But you'll also find a strength you never knew you had, because you're no longer fighting for yourself. You're walking for something bigger than you, and that gives you courage. Think of the people who made the greatest impact in this world. None of them lived small lives focused only on themselves. They all anchored themselves to something far beyond comfort and status. They had a vision, a mission, and they didn't give up when life got hard. Why? Because they knew why they were doing it. And when you know your why, you can survive almost any hell. This is not about perfection, it's about direction. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to be committed to something more than yourself. Even if you fall, even if you doubt, you come back to that higher purpose. And when you do, you'll find that what once broke you now builds you. There's something powerful that happens when you align your heart with a higher calling. Your battles change. Your reactions change. You no longer feel the need to win every argument, to be right all the time, or to fight for recognition. You realize that sometimes, walking away in peace is more powerful than staying and trying to prove your worth. And the moment you stop needing to impress people and start living with integrity, that's when real confidence is born. Because you're no longer pretending. You're no longer hiding parts of yourself to be accepted. You are standing in truth, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it costs you relationships, opportunities, or comfort. That's freedom. That's power. There will be times when it feels like everything is falling apart. Friends walk away, plans fail, your name is misunderstood. But if you've anchored yourself in something bigger, then you'll know deep down, it's not falling apart, it's falling into place. The pieces are being moved, not for your destruction, but for your redirection. Sometimes, the door has to slam shut, so you stop knocking on what's not meant for you. But if your purpose is tied only to outcomes, you'll quit. You'll give up the first time things don't go your way. You'll abandon your journey at the first sign of rejection. That's why you need a higher purpose, because it gives you fuel when motivation runs out. It gives you peace when things get messy. It gives you clarity when the noise of the world gets loud. And let me say this, your higher purpose doesn't have to be grand in the eyes of the world. You don't have to be famous, wealthy, or extraordinary in the public sense. Sometimes, your greatest purpose is to be a light in your own family, to heal the cycle of pain that you inherited, to serve with compassion in your small corner of the world, to be honest when everyone else is lying. That's purpose, that's mission, that's enough. When the world turns against you, it's tempting to lower your standards just to belong, to become who they want you to be just so you feel accepted. But that's a trap. Don't shrink your values to fit into spaces that don't align with your soul. Don't betray your purpose to gain temporary approval, because that kind of approval is hollow, and it disappears the moment you stop performing. Instead, stand tall in your truth, even when it's lonely, even when it's misunderstood, especially when it's hard. That's when your purpose is tested. That's when your commitment is revealed, and that's when your growth is born. So when the storm comes, and it will go back to your purpose, anchor yourself in why you started. Remind yourself who you're doing it for, not the critics, not the doubters, not even for yourself, but for the one who knows your heart, for the one who sees the tears you never let anyone else see, for the one who rewards effort, not results. Live for that. Anchor yourself in that, because when you do, it won't matter who turns against you. It won't matter who walks away. Your purpose will hold you steady. Your faith will keep you grounded. And your Lord will never abandon you. When everything seems to be against you, and the path ahead looks dark and uncertain, there's a certain kind of strength that arises not from the outside, but from within. It is the strength that comes when you embrace silence, when you learn the art of inner stillness, and when you stop trying to control every detail of your life. In that quiet surrender, you find peace, not because the storm has stopped, but because you've learned how to stand in the middle of it without falling apart. That's the power of silence. That's the wisdom in restraint. We live in a world where everyone is speaking, everyone has an opinion, everyone is reacting, posting, shouting, proving, and performing. But the ones who truly move forward, who truly rise above, are the ones who know when not to speak. They know when to stay still. They know that silence is not weakness. It's a form of clarity. It's a form of wisdom. It's a form of power. There are times in life when the best thing you can do is simply stay silent and focus on what you can control, your actions, your intentions, your connection with your Creator. Not everything needs a response. Not every attack needs a defense. Not every misunderstanding needs an explanation. When you try to chase every rumor, when you try to fight every battle, when you try to explain yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you, you waste your energy. And energy is precious when you're trying to survive, when you're trying to heal, and when you're trying to grow. In those moments when you're being misjudged, misquoted, or mistreated, yes, it hurts. It's not easy to stay quiet when someone is painting a version of you that doesn't reflect your truth. But what benefit comes from constantly trying to defend yourself? If you live your life trying to clear your name in every room you're not even in, you'll spend your whole life explaining yourself and forget to actually live. Let them talk. Let them assume. Your job is not to control perception. Your job is to remain sincere, to remain patient, to remain focused. And here's what many people don't understand. Silence is not about doing nothing. It's about choosing where to place your energy. It's about choosing to rise above pettiness. It's about choosing peace over pride.
It's about choosing to prioritize your healing, your goals, and your prayers over a temporary battle for validation. And in that space of silence, something incredible happens. Your mind clears, your heart calms, your faith deepens. You begin to remember that the one who sees your heart doesn't need you to prove anything to anyone. He knows your struggles, he sees your effort, and he will vindicate you in his time, not when you want, not when they expect, but when the timing is divine and perfect. That belief, that unshakable trust, is what transforms silence from a place of pain to a space of power. People often confuse silence with submission, but silence can be a very strategic move. It allows you to assess, it gives you space to pray, it gives you clarity to see what you couldn't before, and most importantly, it keeps you from saying something in your emotion that you might regret in your wisdom. Words have power, and when you learn to use them sparingly, they carry more weight. When you speak less, your words matter more. You don't need to announce every move you're making. You don't need to post every progress update. You don't need to defend every setback. Sometimes the best transformation is the one that happens in silence, because when you grow in silence, you become unshakable, you become grounded, and when the world finally sees what you've become, it's not because you shouted, it's because you shined. People will notice, they'll see the glow, they'll see the shift in your energy, not because you forced it, but because your presence has changed. You become a walking example of what it means to trust the process and let the results speak, and that's far more powerful than any defense you could have made along the way. So if you're in a season where everything feels against you, if you're being criticized, left out, doubted, or dismissed, don't let that force you to become loud just to be heard. Be still, be intentional, turn inward, focus on what needs to be healed inside of you, focus on what needs to be rebuilt. Let your prayers become your response, let your actions speak on your behalf, and let time reveal what your tongue doesn't need to. Silence also allows you to connect deeply with your Lord. When you're not constantly filling the air with your own words, you leave space to listen to your heart, to listen to the signs, to listen to the guidance that comes when your mind is quiet and your soul is open. There's something sacred about the stillness that comes in prayer, in reflection, in quiet moments of surrender. That's where real transformation happens. This world will test you, people will test you, even your own thoughts will test you, and not every test requires a reaction. Some tests require you to be still, and let your faith answer for you. Trust that what is meant for you will never miss you, and what misses you was never meant to be yours. That truth alone can calm the loudest storms inside your heart. So walk silently when needed, heal quietly, grow privately, and trust deeply. You're not alone even when you feel unseen. You're not forgotten, even when you feel overlooked. You are being prepared, you are being strengthened, and when the time is right, you will emerge, not because you forced the world to see you, but because you were too aligned to stay hidden. Let the noise pass, let the chaos move around you. You stay grounded, you stay silent, you stay connected to your purpose. That's where the breakthrough lives, that's where everything falls into place.